Welcome back to another video with your one and only Larry Ferro. Yes, guys, welcome to another edition of Morning Workout Talk. I'm on my way to work, and I call this Morning Workout Talk, but I'm not really talking about workouts. I mean, that's just a workout talk because that's the day that I work out. Topics vary. I don't have a particular direction or particular topics that I have in mind. I just speak what's on my mind. But I wanted to talk about how I'm starting to see in my life, I don't know about yours, but I can only speak for myself. I'm starting to see that things just always work out. And you're probably asking, like, what do you mean, Literary Pharaoh, that things always work out? I mean that even if I'm late to work, I'm still on time. When I think that I've made a mistake, everything works out. When something is planned and it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to happen, it goes better than what I planned. If I'm in the wrong place, I happen to be at the right place. In other words, like let's say I make a mistake and go to a wrong building at my job, I end up being where I need to be at that time for something spectacular to happen. I don't know. It just seems like everything works out. Even when I make wrong turns, my wrong turns are right turns, because my perception it's just that. It's my perception, but we're not, beholden to our perceptions. Our perceptions could be skewed. So the reason why I'm saying this is because we just need to relax and just let the universe take care of itself and take care of you. If you are on a righteous path and you are a person that endeavors to do the right thing and you have right intentions, I believe that you're always going to be in the right place at the right time, even though your perceptions may tell you otherwise. The reason why it's very important not to react or respond to our perceptions all the time is because if you are reacting or responding off of a wrong perception, then that can deter the good that will happen or the good that's imminent. So in other words, let's say I make a wrong turn, but because I'm so bothered by that wrong turn or that wrong movement or that mistake that I perceive myself making, it's going to be very difficult for me to see the other opportunities that lie right before me. So it seems like I've had this happen to me for like almost a decade now, where it was harder for me to notice it when I was younger, but the older I'm getting, I'm starting to see that don't let your perceptions drive your temperament. In other words, so you may perceive that something is wrong. It's okay. Your perceptions are your perceptions. I'm not telling you not to have perceptions, because it'll be totally, illogical. It'd be totally disingenuous of me to tell you not to own or possess a perception. Perception is just a part of the human experience. All I'm telling you to do is just, when you have those particular perceptions, don't lean into it so much that it dictates your temperament and dictates the trajectory of your reality. So if I go into a space and I think that I'm in the wrong place, take a deep breath and just say, you know what, I'm in the right place. Things in front of you just start to unfold, and you start to understand that, oh, I never made a mistake. I thought I made a mistake, but obviously I'm where I'm supposed to be. That's been happening to me a lot. So much so that's why I don't panic. I have people around me, like my wife, when she doesn't understand something, that's just her personality. She gets sort of anxious. But in my head, I'm like, there's no reason to be anxious. Just calm down. What's supposed to be is supposed to be. And in the realm of Stoicism, if you're, underneath that umbrella of Stoicism, that's what that's about. That's about you being neutralized and not being moved by anything, because you have an unspeakable and an immeasurable degree of confidence that wherever I'm at is where I'm supposed to be. There's no such things as coincidence. It's just it is what it is. Um, I mean, at my job, I've given presentations where I'm just presenting on topics that's unrelated to what somebody wants me to do later. And I later someone ends up coming up to me and say, hey, I like that topic you talked about. I want you to come do this. And I'm thinking in my head like, oh, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, that topic that I did wasn't even a topic that I wanted to do. It's just something I just threw together at the last minute. I didn't even think it was good. See, my perception is that my work was not good, but somebody else saw something good in it. That's what I mean by the universe is at work, meaning that there's an unseen hand, there's an unseen controller, there's an unseen dimension that we can't grasp or comprehend. Mentally, we cannot, but there has to be something that balances out good energy and bad energy. I feel that if you are a person, like I said earlier, if you're a person that's consistently striving for good and you have good intentions, not saying that negative things won't happen to you. Like I said, I would be lying to you if I told you that. That's not what I'm telling you. What I am telling you is that the way you perceive things will change. And that's what's happening to me. That it's not that I don't have negative perceptions. I'm a realist. If I mess up and goof up and do something stupid, I'm intelligent enough to make a decision, to make a judgment, to say that was dumb. I can call myself out. I am my worst critic. I'm very hard on myself because I expect a certain level of expertise and perfection, and there's certain ways that I want things to look. I'm very hard on myself. Whether that's a bad thing or a good thing, that's neither here nor there. But what I am saying is that I don't want you guys to think that I'm saying that always perceive things in a peaches and cream and there's no negativity, it's all kumbaya. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that don't get flustered by your reality, meaning that no matter what happens to you, you're in the right place. And if you hold that psychological framework within your everyday movement, you'll understand and see the power of the mind is very key, because how you perceive something will dictate your whole reality. If you're always trying to be in control, you're going to be totally out of control. I'm going to say that again. If you're consistently always trying to be in control, you are going to be out of control. You may ask, what do you mean by that, Literary Pharaoh? I'll explain. People who always seek control tend to be out of control because in this world we live in, it's very difficult with so many moving parts, with so many random circumstances that happen to us. It's very hard to control things. Now, the one thing that we can't control, that we are able to control, are things that are within our locus of control, like our behavior, our response, how we think, what we eat, what we do. Like those things that we can control, we can control. But there are certain people who want to control everything, right? They want the people at their job to do this. They want these people to do this. Most of the times, the things that they're trying to control are things that are not within their reach, but outside their reach. And it's always external. They're never trying to control the internal things. People who spend a lot of time trying to control the things that they are, that are within their locus of control, those people seldom, very rare, are they worried about things on the outside because they're more concerned about the things on the inside. But people who just try to control everything on the outside, they're very out of control because their temperament moves just as erratic as the circumstances outside of them move. So if the outside circumstances of your life are consistently sporadic, erratical, going up and down, shifting in every motion, going through high ebbs and low flows and and things are all over the place, then that person is going to be out of control because their meter or their movement is predicated or is contingent upon those external circumstances. So if you're always seeking control of your circumstances, you're always going to be out of control. The only thing you can seek control of are the things that you have control of. We have no control of our external circumstances. I can't control the way somebody talks to me. I can't control the way somebody speaks to me. All I can do is control what I do. And that's something we have to keep in mind. So perception is very vital. Don't be led by your perceptions. Just know that whether it's good or bad, whether you perceive something to be good or bad, just know, let that solid anchor keep you anchored on logic. Let it keep you centered on sanity, right? What we don't want is for external circumstances to get so erratic according to our perceptions, where that erraticism ends up being something that controls us. Then we end up mirroring the chaotic situations that are outside of us, and then therefore we end up being chaotic. We end up being all over the place. We end up being disorganized. We end up being stressed out. Now we're seeking foods to eat to give us an emotional calm and emotional appeasement. Then we start seeking, vices, whether it's I'm going to go lean on porn today because I'm just so upset I've had a bad day. Let me just lean into this vice, whether it's alcohol, whether it's promiscuity. Oh, no, there are many vices out there that people delve into. But it's because their world is out of control, because they're being led by their perceptions, and they're trying to control external circumstances. Therefore, they lack control of their lives. Therefore, they become addicts, whether chemical addicts to drugs or foods, or they become psychological addicts to certain, visual stimuli, be it erotic, exotic films or X-rated films, or what you guys know as pornography. So we have to be very careful how we view perceptions. We just like the other day when I was on the road, I was telling you guys that I was late, but I said I don't care about being late. I did what I had to do. When I got to work, everything was fine. Like, I'm never wrong. Like, nothing. Even when I am wrong and I'm confronted, that day of confrontation becomes something that becomes advantageous to me at a later date. So it never works out for my detriment. It's always going to work out for my good. And now I see why the scripture, the Bible tells you that weapons formed against you can't prosper, because the weapons that are being formed against you are not external weapons from your enemies that are coming to fight you like a war. The enemy, allegorically speaking, because many people take those scriptures out of context, and again, the Bible is not the end all be all. Those texts, those things that are mentioned in the text are in other texts as well, other texts that predate the Bible by thousands and thousands of years. So the Bible is just a plagiarized text, but I go to the Bible because I know that's something that you guys are more familiar with. So when I quote the Bible, it doesn't mean that I'm believing the Bible. I'm just quoting something that's widely used in our contemporary culture. People like to quote scripture and go to certain verses, but when people like to say, "No weapon against me shall prosper," the weapons being forged against you are not. It's not an external enemy with weapons. It's not. The weapon that's formed against you is you. You are your weapon. You are the weapon that's formed against yourself. We are our worst enemy. The battle is never from an external opponent or an external adversary. The adversary is internal. The adversary is intrinsic. The adversary is you. You're the adverse. You're the adverse to your universe. You're the adversary to your universe. Your universe is comprised of balance, but when you have wrong perceptions and you don't eat right and you delve into different vices and you lack control because you're seeking so much control of your outside world, whether you've been through traumatic experiences as a youth, whatever you've been through, you become the weapon against yourself, similar to an autoimmune disease. There's no enemy outside of us other than us. We are our worst enemy. Most of the things that happen to us, we do it to ourselves. Very hardly and very rare can you sit down with a person, they tell you, "Oh, this happened to me because somebody did this to me." Now, there are a few occasions where if you talk to the average person, let's say they've had 50 things that have happened to them. Out of that 50, probably 2 of them happened because somebody else did something. Let's say a person was robbed and they were hit across the head and somebody took their money. Okay, that's one incident. And let's say another incident, a person got into a fight, they got beat up real bad. Okay, that's 2 incidents. The rest of the incidents out of the 50, the remainder 48, most of those incidents are put on by us. And I would argue and say even the 2 incidents that were done by perpetrators, you can still make the argument and say that the person who was the alleged victim put themselves in that position. When you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and when you're living a life that's riddled and that stays consistently in that low vibrational output or that low vibrational state, then you're gonna find yourself in situations that are not to your advantage, that are not to your benefit, right? So most of the times when things happen to us is because we put ourselves in that position. And I think that the way I've been living, the older I get, that's why things always work out for me, because I'm not doing anything that's in the dark. I'm not doing anything that's low vibrational. My frequency is very high. I'm vibrating at a high frequency. I'm eating right, I'm meditating, I'm disciplined. So there's nothing that I do, even when it's perceived as being wrong in my head, it still works out for me because the rest of the things I'm doing them right. So even when I'm wrong, right still comes back on my side. It's kind of like the train gets back on its train tracks. It never gets off road. So I want to explain that to you guys to understand that your perceptions are an outpouring of your day-to-day act. So if you live wrong, low vibrational. So when I say low vibrational, I mean living in anger, eating junk food, not meditating, not working out, alcoholism, pornography, numerous vices, hatred, bitterness, those low vibrational emotions that keeps you bound in that 3rd dimensional hell. If you consistently live like that, then there's no way in hell that your perceptions are going to benefit you, because your perceptions are going to come out of the 3-dimensional hell construct of emotions that you already sustained, that you already possess. So if you possess that, then you're going to give that. People can only give what they have. If I have a low vibrational aura in that particular cipher, then that's the only thing that I can emit. I can only produce what I have. All right? If I'm even people who function low vibrationally, even when they do good or they perceive good, that good somehow, some way turns out being something that's bad for them. It's the person that thinks, oh, and this is just an extreme example, a person that's living low vibrationally. It happens a lot of times with people who win the lottery. And I'm going to use the lottery as an example. People will win the lottery. That's perceived as a good. Many of us be like, oh, you won the lottery, you won a bunch of millions of dollars. Wow, that's good for you. Where a person who's living low vibrationally will run through that money quickly or get killed for the money. Or they'll squander it on stupidity. And that person that won the lottery, in about 2-3 years, you'll find out that they're broke. You're like, what happened to all your money? They spent their money unwisely. How can you operate a function in a way that benefits you when your temperament and your vibration is in hell, when your vibration is very low? It means that even when you get good things, you're going to find a way to squander it. Whereas a person who lives high vibrationally, they can do wrong things or perceive themselves doing wrong things. Somehow things still work out for them because the frequencies they attract. It's like a magnetic attraction that occurs. No matter what you do, because your intentions are always good. Even when you make a mistake, when you're functioning high vibrationally, the universe and the frequencies work out for your favor. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't experience negative things. You will. But in the long run, it works out for your favor. It builds your character. It evolves you. It ends up putting you with other people, connecting you to people that you never thought you'll be connected to. That's what that does. But people who function low vibrationally, they can never They can never be in the good, because even when they get good, they squander good. They don't know how to keep things that are good. All they know is bad. They stay in the bad. And their mind states and their perception on life is very short-sighted. They can't see far. Their foresight is limited. They lack patience. They're very inconsistent because they're seeking. It goes back to that chaos, right? They're trying to control so many things that they can't do it. So they resort to drugs like marijuana to calm them down. They resort to chemicals because they themselves are chemically imbalanced. So they're seeking chemicals to restore the balance. Narcotics. Psychotropics. They do those things. And because most of us lack love in our lives, we seek love in all sorts of different things, in food and sex and alcohol. Like the world has you covered. This world has you covered. Whatever you're lacking, this world has something to provide you, to say that this is what you need. And if you fall into that trap, believing that the world, whatever the world provides, is something that you need, then you're already done. You're finished. What you need is you. What you need is this. What you need are things that comes from Mother Nature. Things that come from the earth. What you need is nature. What you need is simplicity. What you need is yourself. What you need is to remove yourself from the city and go deep into places that have most things that are forged naturally. What you need is isolation. What you don't need is prayer. Because prayer, you're reaching out externally. Because you don't know what this God is going to do. You don't know what, you may read about him and say he's on your side, but you've been praying all this time and nothing is happening. You're still waiting. Don't reach out. Reach within. Reach within yourself. Believe in yourself that you have the power to change your reality. It's all about the perception. But the perception has to be coming from a source of high vibrational output. If your vibrational output is very low, then your perceptions are going to be totally jacked up. It's not going to align. It's only going to align to whatever vibrational state that you're in. So meaning that, like I said before, a person that functions high vibrationally, even when they move wrong, they move right. Because their moving wrong is perceived by their limited psyche, because we are limited. We're not infinite. We don't have infinite minds. We only use 3% of our brains. We don't know it all. We're not omniscient. We don't know everything. So based upon our limits and our disposition in that regard, it's very difficult for us to perceive things the way they naturally are supposed to be. The essence of our perceptions are skewed because we are humans and we have limits. So even when you as a person perceive something to be negative, but because you function high vibrationally, that perception of negativity is not truly negative. It's really going to be for your good, but you'll see it in due time. And the older you get, you start to see that. And so the older I'm getting, nothing bothers me. Nothing. I just let things be. Does it bother me initially? Yes, but it's kind of like a little sting, and it just disappears. It doesn't stay. The sting doesn't stay. It's not persistent. I'm gonna feel the sting of being a human. I'm a human. I'm not telling you guys that I'm not a monk. I'm not that stoic. I have feelings, I have emotions. But what I am saying is that because self-care is such an important element, such an important component in my life, I'm not going to allow, right? I'm not going to allow things that are outside of my control completely throw me off of balance. Because if I'm off balance mentally, then that skews everything else that I'm doing, because the mental component of a human is the most important engine inside the human, because that dictates everything that you do. If your mind is jacked up, then your decision making will follow as being jacked up. Everything follows the mind. All right? So, perceptions. Be careful. Don't follow them. Don't believe in them. But I tell you what, the belief in the perception or the creation of your perception is going to be made solely based upon how you live. How you live. Are you low vibrational? Are you high vibrational? How do you live? Thank you guys for listening. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. Peace. Take care of yourself, and remember, your health is your wealth.